Hey everyone, Herkaway here, and welcome back to the channel where we talk about a day in the life of IT. Today we're going to talk about upgrading from Windows 10 to Windows 11 using SCCM. So, if you're in an environment where you use SCCM or MECM as you should call it these days, upgrading to Windows 11 has been very easy. Now there are many guides out there. All right, there's also multiple ways that you can upgrade. The painstaking way is you can always do it manually by loading up setup exe and going through the checks there. You can also use the software center where you can create an application and use the solid commands for setup exe. Then you can use the built-in feature upgrade as well. But my favorite and the one that you have the most control is using a task sequence, and that's what we're going to discuss today. Now, you may hear some people say, well, you really don't need to upgrade to Windows 11. I'm not going to touch Windows 11 until it's time to do so. But my philosophy is, why wait until the very last minute? And you may be in an environment where it's not important to make sure that you're only supporting the most supported OS. Like, we're not going to have MacBooks that's running High Sierra or Mojave, right? Same thing with Windows. We're not going to have Windows running Windows 8 or Windows 7. We have to stay at the highest, well, not the highest, but we have to stay at least at the bare minimum. And right now the bare minimum is Windows 10 20H2 if you're using Windows 10 Enterprise. All right, so with that said, let's go ahead and hop into this task sequence here. Now, this task sequence was created directly from SCCM. I got with my licensing team, and it was able to get me the actual volume license installer. So I extracted the WIM out of that, and then I uploaded it to SCCM as a upgrade operating system image or something like that. And then from there, I was able to create this task sequence. Now, Microsoft went ahead and pre-did a lot of these steps, but as you can see, I did add my own. So we're gonna go ahead and break through all of these steps. And then I have some scripts as well that we're gonna talk about. So the first step here is the readiness upgrade. Technically, I don't need this step because I do have a script that does run that will pretty much do this as well. But I figured, what the heck, I'll go ahead and take it. So the only things I'm really checking for is memory, processor, free space, the current OS. So if you're familiar with build versions like I am, I got very familiar with build versions, you'll know that 19042 is 20H2. You may be saying, well, you should be able to upgrade from any version of Windows 10 to Windows 11 because it is a full upgrade and not an enhancement. Thing is, if I have a computer that's sitting on 1909 or below, I need to look at that computer because I did recently set up a collection where all 1909 computers should be upgraded to at least 21H2. All right, so if for some reason it's on 1909 or below, then I need to look at that computer because it's not getting the upgrades that it needs. The other thing I check is, AC powered in. That's always important. And if a network adapter is connected and the network adapter is not wireless. I don't want to do this over Wi-Fi. You can just imagine the headaches we can get if I try to upgrade everything over Wi-Fi. I'm also checking to see if it's in UEFI mode and if TPM 2.0 is installed and enabled and activated as well. All right, so this is the actual script that we're running, right? It's just a script that's sitting in the package, and I output the results to this variable, and we'll get into this variable later. Actually, no, we'll get into this variable now. Now the variable is just true or false, and it's determined at this group here. And we can see here that I have a task sequence variable where, I'm saying, hey, false or true, if it passes or not. If it doesn't pass, there's multiple errors that I'm going to give to the user because, hey, this is a big deal. You're trying to upgrade to Windows 11. I'm going to give you the reasons why it's not working. I'm going to, display something from the task sequence, and then the task sequence itself is going to fail. the way that I make the task sequence fail is to just throw an exit 1. If I do that, then obviously it's going to fail because my success codes are 0 and 30 and 10. As you can see here, I did have something called remove MATLAB. Back when I was testing this back in, I think it was October 2020, for some reason MATLAB just would not cooperate after an upgrade. I have to physically uninstall it and then reinstall it. We're now using MATLAB 2022A, and that's fully supported by Windows 11, so that's why this is now disabled. And then we actually have the upgrade step. This again is fully handled by Microsoft. I don't have to do anything at all. This addition here is a bug feature, and it's expected. It was the very first edition of Windows 11. In fact, once 22H2 is released, I'm going to look into that so we can get the latest WIM, and hopefully this will change to Windows 11 Enterprise. However, again, it's not something I'm really worried about because at the end of the day, Windows 11 does get installed. Obviously, I do a reboot. Now this here, I do disable the chat icon. It is also set in a GPO, but sometimes the GPO doesn't kick in fast enough, so I want to just go ahead and disable it before a user even logs in. In our environment, we use Google Suite over Office 365. But if you're a 365 user, then obviously this doesn't apply to you at all. I go ahead and install updates, and for the heck of it, I'm just going to install all the software updates. We do test updates before we push them out to production. So, I mean, really any update that gets pushed to a machine, it's there for a reason. And eventually it's going to get installed because it's going to hit a deadline. So I figure at this point, I might as well just go ahead and install all the updates. Then I do another restart. And then this is some post actions after the operating system has successfully installed and upgraded. I run this script called remove BuiltIn Apps. It's just a script that gets rid of all the junk, so Solitary, Netflix, what else we have? I think Grove Music, Candy Crush, all of those things there just gets rid of it. Because on our Windows 10 images, it does the same thing. We get rid of it. So unfortunately, Microsoft wants to push all of those apps again, so I just go ahead and remove them again. Then we go ahead and remove OneDrive again because we're not an Office 365 team, we're Google Suite. So again, if you use OneDrive, obviously this does not apply to you. Then I remove Teams. Now Teams is a two-step process, unfortunately. In my experience, with an upgrade, we have to do this particular step. However, if we're installing Windows 11 from scratch, then I can add a feature, or I should say add a tag in the unattended file called configure chat and set that to false, and that will not install Microsoft Teams. So just something to think about. And then as a courtesy, this isn't really necessary, but I figure, I'm a nice guy, I'm a generous guy. If you know anything about Windows upgrades, you know that you get 10 days in order to roll back. After that 10 days, then the upgrade, or I guess the previous version of Windows, is automatically deleted. And this is obviously for space reasons. So, if you're rocking a 256 SSD and you do some sort of upgrade, obviously that is going to sit on your, disk drive for 10 days. But Windows 11, though, it is a brand new operating system. Even though it's supposed to be similar, it's still pretty brand new. Some people may not be comfortable yet, so I do give the option to roll back 30 days. All right. However, though, after that 30 days, the previous installation will get removed. So if you do want to downgrade, we will have to wipe your machine. And, I do explain that before I offer Windows 11. And lastly, we're going to go ahead and remove the device from the collection. Again, this is based off a script. I really wish this was a built-in feature within SCCM to remove a device from a particular collection. Hopefully that gets implemented in the feature updates or whatever, but it is what it is. All right, so with that said, let's actually get into the scripts that we run. All right, so this script right here, this was actually generated by Microsoft themselves, or Microsoft hosts the script, I should say. I did make some minor tweaks to it to fit our environment much better. So as you can see here, these are just some constant values that they add. Same things with this, again, constant strings that they add. And this is just for log checking. The things that I added was custom objects, and we'll see why that's useful down the line. All right, and then I put all of those objects within this object. So I have an object within an object. And again, we'll see why that's useful down the line. All right, so the reason why I use this script and not just some random script that I generated, because before this I actually had two versions for checking for Windows 11. First, I will actually check the CPU and do some regular expressions to figure out if it's actually compatible or not. So I'm checking for, anything 8th gen or newer, but with some of the model numbers, it got a little bit tricky because I was looking for 5 digits, and then, Intel will release something like the i7 1207P, which is compatible with Windows 11. So it just got too much. So then Microsoft released an actual table, but however, they did not update that table every time a new CPU was released, at least not in my eyes. So I think the last time they actually updated it was January 2022, but Intel released a 12th gen laptop CPU, which again, the i7 1207P, and it's not in that table, so then I'm saying that it's not compatible when it actually is compatible. So then Microsoft released this script, and this is pretty much the end-all be-all script, and I believe it is feature-proof. The only thing I don't like about the script, and again, we'll get into that in a moment. So I'll just show you what the script does. One, we're checking for storage. So if you remember earlier, the constant value was 64 gigs. So this is just checking to see if it is indeed 64 gigs. Again, nothing too crazy. Then we're checking for memory, making sure that it's 4 gigs. Again, nothing too crazy. Then we're checking the actual TPM. Now I did have to redo this because the actual what they had, I can't remember actually what they had, but what they actually had did not work in WinPE. I'm not going to show you that script right now. I'm actually going to show you that in a part 2 of this video. But when I tried to run that in WinPE, it just didn't work, so I had to make some modifications. And it's the same thing, except they're actually checking for actual stuff where I'm checking for some other stuff. So but we're checking the same thing, checking to see if the TPM is activated, checking to see if the spec is at least major version 2. All right, so again, if it's good, it passes. If not, then it will return this exit code, return code, I should say. Then this is pretty much the brains of the script. This is really why I use the script here. Look at this. This is you rarely see semicolons in PowerShell. But anywho, but this is why I grabbed the script here. And I believe if I go back up, I think I collapsed it. Yep, there it is. This source here. So this is, I think, C#. So if you know some C#, then this may seem familiar to you. But what this is pretty much checking to see if a particular processor is compatible for Windows 11. So this is highly useful. I tried to convert this to PowerShell, but I just couldn't figure it out. If you're able to convert this to PowerShell, by all means, please have at it. But I just could not figure it out. So I figured, why not let, the people who actually make this stuff do the hard work for me. Now the sad part is that with this only works on the machine that you're actually running. It doesn't work if you plug in a CPU. So for example, if I put in, I'm using this as an example, if I put in the i7 1207P, whatever. Or the new AMD Ryzen 7000. If I put that in here, it wouldn't work because the computer that I'm running the script on doesn't have that particular CPU. So that's the only downfall about this, and which is why I like my scripts. Because my scripts, I was able to put in any CPU, and I was able to grab to tell if it was compatible with Windows 11 or not. However, that feature isn't as reliable as this script is. So if your machines are offline, or you have laptops that's working remotely and you don't have an internet facing DP, then it may be a little bit tricky to figure out if a machine is able to run Windows 11 or not. But nevertheless, again, this is just checking for bandwidth speed and not bandwidth, but clock speed and how many processors it has, and it's just going to return true or false and whatever. But this is why we can't plug in an actual CPU, because it's actually using the source from that C# code above. The next thing is we're just checking for secure boot. This just returns true or false. If it's true, great. If not, then it's not ready. This is for the Surface Studio 2 or Precision 5520. I actually have a Surface Studio 2 in my environment. I only have one. Only one person really requested it. I think it's pretty much a waste, but if they have the budget for it, I'm not going to say no. But this script does work with that. Then I have the actual object that I was referring to. So if for some reason I get EXIT code 1, -1, or -2, then I use a not capable string. So one thing in coding that you don't want to do, you don't want to hard code anything. You want to use as many constants or variables that you can, so that way at the very top of the script, that's the only changes you need to make. You shouldn't have to change the code at all. And then this is why I have that variable here. So again, that variable writes true or writes false. And then if it's for some reason, if it is false, I do put out this object here, and I'm using the msg.exe, and this pretty much works as is. So again, this is very useful. This actually will explain to the user if their CPU or secure boot, a TPM or hard drive or RAM. Now, yes, I could have had a log, and I could have went to the log and looked through it, but I think this is good enough. This is something, if the user runs it, then I can easily say, hey, tell me what the pop-up said. Or if I'm running it, I can easily look for it. I don't have to look for a log or anything like that. Plus, everything is done in memory, so I'm not using up any space. But the log is only 2 kilobytes, if that. But nevertheless, I think it's great that I'm giving the user some sort of independence to say, hey, this is why I'm not able to install Windows 11. All right, so let's look into this remove built-in apps. This is a script from Nicholas Anderson. I actually do use this for Windows 10. You can see the last time it was updated was 2019, but it's great for Windows 11. Now, this is everything that was always in Windows 11, or Windows 10, I should say. And then we added some Windows 11 apps below, so things like Step Recorder, Notepad, DirectX, this important one, the Windows Client Shell components. Please don't remove that if you do, or if you don't exempt it. So these are all capabilities. I have this RSAT twice. And these are actually packages, APX packages. So one thing I don't like about what Microsoft does is you see here that we have MS Paint. Now, I'm a big fan of MS Paint. If I need to quickly create screenshots, or if I need to hold a particular screenshot somewhere until I'm ready to paste it, MS Paint will get the job done Yes, I can use a third-party app like GreenShot or ShareAds or the snipping tool or snipping sketch, I guess you call it. But MS Paint is tried and true. It works, and I just love it. Plus, if I get bored one day, I can open up MS Paint and just start to doodle. But let me show you why I don't like what Microsoft does. So you see here in Windows 10 they had MS Paint. And Windows 11, they changed it to just Paint. But you see here with Notepad, they kept it as Windows Notepad. So it just makes everything so confusing. So this is, one of the painfully stinkly things I had to do when it came to testing Windows 11. I had to see which apps were removed, and I had to go back and say, okay, this app was removed. I kept this app was removed. So it was a lot of testing and a lot of back and forth I had to go to. But I got it to work. And that's pretty much it right there. So this script works just fine. This is worked since, again, Windows 10 days, and it works great for Windows 11. I'm sure when 22H2 gets released, I'm going to have to test it out again, but it works fine. The next thing you guys saw was removing teams. All right, so the first thing I have to do, again, this is a two-step process. So even though teams should be removed with this script here, it doesn't really get removed. So I had to actually create a task. And for some reason, even though I remove it, with the system account doing the actual upgrade, when I logged in, Teams will automatically get reinstalled. So what I actually had to do was, at login, I had to remove Teams. All right, and I used a system account. And pretty much what I'm doing is I'm copying the script to an actual folder, and I'm creating a scheduled task with the system account, and it just runs this file here. And I do it at logon. And then the actual file is removing the provision package and the APPS package. Now you may be saying I shouldn't have to do both, but I just like to get rid of it, And it honestly, it doesn't hurt to do both. If I get an error, I get an error. It's really no big deal. If it can't find Teams, that's actually a good thing in my opinion. But anywho, I just do both, and it works, right? I don't have to worry about Teams being reinstalled whenever it pops up. Lastly, we actually need to remove the device from collection. So with upgrades, I add the device to a particular collection. Now the reason I actually do this is because there are some required collections, as you can see here. And I don't want the task sequence to keep running. So after the upgrade is complete, I should be able to look in the collection, and that device should be gone. And the way that I'm doing that, we're using Configuration Manager web service. We do use a secret key, and the way that I do it is I get the GUI, which is the UUID, which is specific to each device. Now I could technically use the device name, but I always feel that the UUID is unique to that device, no matter what the name is. If for some reason the device name got changed midway through for some strange reason, I know that the UUID will still stay the same. All right, and pretty much what I do is I get all of the collections for that particular device, and then if the device has that particular collection in its list, I just go ahead and remove the device from the collection. All right. Now you may be asking yourself, why do you have an LTSC to enterprise? Because I do the same thing where if for some reason a user needs to upgrade from LTSC to enterprise, like so say for example, they're still rocking 1809 LTSC, right? Which is still supported until like 2029 or something like that. And they have an app, and the app says, well, we only support 21H2. And I think Docker is famous for that. Docker and Adobe apps are famous for that. Instead of wiping the machine, I do get the option to upgrade from LTSC to enterprise. Now, again, it's not guaranteed, and I do say you definitely will run into some issues, but it should work. Now, the reason why you see a require and a maintenance, and yes, I know I spelled maintenance wrong, and that's fine. I will admit that. But the reason why you see require and maintenance is because, let's say I have some machines that's in a research lab where users, they use it on a daily basis, but they're not going to use it for a day or so, right? I can go ahead and throw those devices in the required collection, and I can just let it upgrade the next time it checks in, which is every hour. But let's say that I want to upgrade an entire computer lab where it's used by many users, right? Not just for one department, but any department. So you can be from HR, you can be from finance, you can be from the administration's office, right? And the maintenance one is pretty much just going off of the maintenance window. So for us, our maintenance windows is from 12 a.m. to 5:30 a.m. And usually no one is in the building at between those hours. So this upgrade will only happen during that maintenance upgrade. Now, let's say that they have updates that needs to be completed, then it may not get done until the next day. All right. But again, this is something that I will control. I'm not going to ask, hey, do you want to upgrade to Windows 11? No, I'm not going to ask that. I'm going to make the decision if I want to upgrade this particular lab to Windows 11, and I will let my users know. And then, of course, this one right here, because it doesn't have anything, obviously, this means that it's available in the Software Center under the Operating System tab, I guess you call it, right? And this is one of the reasons why I like it. I like it like that instead of using the application or the feature upgrade, because updates and upgrades can get a little confusing. But if I have it under the operating system, then you know that Windows 11 is an operating system, and it just, to me, it reads better towards the user. Plus, you have that big old warning that says, "Hey, we're about to upgrade, and you may lose some data. Are you sure you want to upgrade?" And that's something that Software Center does automatically. Whereas in the applications, I could put something in front, but the fact that the Software Center does it for me, it just makes my life so much easier. I don't have to write as many scripts as well. I mean, obviously I can put all of this stuff probably into like an application group or something like that, but the fact that I can have the task sequence do it, it makes life, again, so much easier. And that's it, guys. That's it. That is how we upgrade to Windows 11. What about you guys? Leave a comment below on how you're upgrading to Windows 11, or are you even upgrading to Windows 11? Are you one of those people who are saying, I'm just going to wait until 2024 or 2025 to upgrade? If you're one of those people, then I'm happy for you. If it works for your environment, I'm happy for you. But if you are upgrading, I'm definitely curious to know how you're upgrading. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button and the bell notification for future videos. It's definitely so you can stay tuned for part 2 of this, where I actually demonstrate upgrading to Windows 11 from Windows 10, both with a machine that's capable and with a machine that's not capable with upgrading. You guys have been great, and I'll see you in the next video.